Yaga. The list is long. Oxford, Stanford, Cambridge. Everywhere.
Sons and daughters of DMK leaders are also studying in English language schools and universities. How many of them are going to Tamil medium schools? Nobody is going to Tamil medium schools.
We are not against English. We are not against English. See, you want to grow because the governments, successive governments have never spent on professional teaching, professional curriculum, professional syllabus in native languages. It is available only if you want to become a doctor, you can only study in English.
No, so in fact, the central government, I think even the Prime Minister raised that, why can't doctors who are studying in government medical colleges in Tamil Nadu learn in Tamil? Who will make that happen? State government has to make it happen.
That will restrict them. They'll be able to practice only in the state of Tamil Nadu. They'll not even able to go to Bangalore and practice. That is the problem here. See, English is universality cannot be just washed away, wished away. These people, for just mere political gains, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu will sing a different tune when he is not in the ally with the BJP. Mr. NTR Ramarao, how did he come to power? He spoke of Telugu pride. That is the reason
we are
to
still
power.
speaking of Telugu.
No, they are still proud of Telugu. I don't think anybody is not proud of Telugu.
When they are speaking, when they are giving way to Hindi, when they don't oppose Hindi, they are giving way to Hindi.
I got to move on. Thank you very much, Saravanan and Ms. Jyotsna from TDP for joining us. Like I said, this will only resonate, this will only echo a little more and become politically more of a resonant topic, as you will, through the course of the next few months in the run-up to the Tamil Nadu elections, and possibly also the BMC elections, which are due in the next few months, where we're already seeing this whole sort of hardening of political stand when it comes to the issue of Marathi. But talking about, intra-language wars or interstate wars, as it were, there's one brewing between Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, the two Telugu-speaking states. Union Jal Shakti Minister C.R. Patil has met with the chief ministers of both the Telugu-speaking states, Andhra Pradesh as well as Telangana, that is Mr. Chandrababu Naidu and Mr. Revanth Reddy. There is a controversy that is brewing over the Banakacherla link project construction. Now, government sources say that the meeting with the Water Resources Minister was positive, amicable solution will be arrived at. The centre wants all the states to work together on these water disputes and encourage river linking. Telangana has said that Andhra Pradesh is actually taking away what is due to it, as the due share of water to the state of Telangana is being taken away. That, of course, is a charge that's been rejected by Andhra Pradesh. Payal has more details on this. So, Payal, any contours of how they're going to resolve this interstate water dispute?
Discussions took place. It was very amicable for about 90 minutes. The meeting did go on as well, Zaka. In fact, it's been decided that a committee will be formed which will have officials from the Jal Shakti Ministry, officials from the Andhra government and officials from the Telangana government. They in fact will be meeting sometime next week and they'll be starting to discuss the details of mutual interest as well, and then submitting the report in the next 30 days. Once the report is submitted, then there will be an analysis done on how feasible the suggestions really are and how they can be implemented. Because the argument on their side is that, Revanth Reddy wants to come up with a 10-point thing where he said that this is going to be, has to be in favor of his state, but Chandrababu Naidu's party and Chandrababu Naidu himself has been going on to say that this is going to be a very important, step for the Rayalaseema region, which is parched dry, but this water which is going into the sea can be used for better irrigation purposes as well. So, of course, quite an amicable meeting, and not to forget that Chandrababu Naidu has been Revanth Reddy's original boss in the past. Revanth Reddy, before coming to Congress, was also with the TDP. So a lot of pleasant exchanges did take place, and of course they've arrived at a very common solution, and that's what the central government sources have been telling us, that both the chief ministers acted very positively. They were looking for a solution, and the whole argument of the centre has been that let's solve as many water disputes that we really can. Let's solve any interstate disputes that we can, because eventually Indian water should be used for Indian people, and one should make the maximum use of it.
All right, Payal, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, Payal, there reporting for us on this meeting between the two chief ministers of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana with the Jal Shakti Minister, Mr. C.R. Patil. A 20-year-old student at the Fakir Mohan Autonomous College in Balasore in Odisha wanted nothing more radical than to be able to teach in a classroom. She taught self-defense to schoolgirls, she stayed politically active, but her life was cut short on the 14th of July when she succumbed to burn injuries. Just 2 days before that, she walked into her college with a bottle of petrol, poured it over herself, and then set her body ablaze and then ran through the corridors. All because the system there had failed her. It failed to protect her from a professor who was allegedly sexually harassing her. Her father broke down while speaking to CNN News 18 earlier today. He said his daughter was killed by the ignorance of many, including those in the Internal Complaints Committee. He also alleged that the cops did not listen to him despite giving a 3-page statement. Hear his desperate cry for justice, and then we'll open this up.
तो जो कॉलेज के प्रिंसिपल थे ना और जो प्रोफेसर वो सिर्फ ये दोनों विक्टिम नहीं है, जो इंटरनल कमेटी के जो लोग जो फॉल्स रिपोर्ट मेरे बेटे को दे के इनको सुसाइड करने के लिए मजबूर कर दिया, तो ये सब लोग विक्टिम है। और भी इसका पीछे और भी एक साजिश था। वो मेरा बेटी तो आवाज उठा लिया, बहुत ऐसा लड़का लड़की है जो आवाज नहीं उठा सकते, तो इन सबको हिरासत में लेना चाहिए, कड़ी से कड़ी कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए। इसको तो मालूम था इधर ही, मुझे बताया गया कि मुझे बोला, वो निरंजन खान ने मुझे बोला कि हाँ मैं इधर बैठा हूँ, और कोई IAC भी इधर बैठे थे, इसके सामने वो बात हो रहा था, मुझे बताया गया था। मेरे बेटी मरा नहीं, इनको मार दिया गया, इनको फोर्स किया सुसाइड करने के लिए। क्या मर्डर का चार्ज नहीं लगेगा? इंटरनल मार्क नहीं देते थे, बैग लगा देते थे, इतना कोई सर है। बाद में मुझे पता चला कि वो जैसा फेवर जैसा कोई वर्ड यूज किया था वो प्रोफेसर ने। मुझे बेटी ने हिचकिचाया था मुझे बोलने के लिए, बताया होता तो आज नहीं मरा था, बाद में मुझे पता चला।
So a father there breaking down on the loss of her daughter. There seems to be a systematic letdown of the victim by various college authorities. Back on the 30th of June, the victim had accompanied by her brother. She had gone, as well as along with a few other students, she had approached the institution to lodge a formal complaint against this head of department. There were some protests. In response, the college principal called the police and alleged that some students were creating a disturbance. He refused to file an FIR with the local police about this said sexual harassment case. The local inspector in charge and the additional SP arrived at the college. Sources have now confirmed to CNN News 18 that a meeting was indeed held in the college campus at this time. This was on the 30th of June, when the principal formally took the victim's complaint, but he refused to lodge that complaint with the police. The police officially advised the principal that they can be called if legal action was required. The college conducted an internal investigation and they submitted a detailed report. According to that report, it was recommended that the head of department be removed, citing his inappropriate conduct and unprofessional attitude. However, neither was he removed nor was an FIR lodged against him by the college authorities. So that begs us to ask, why were they protecting him? Why were they protecting this sexual predator?
Only our task was how to inquire into the matter and submit the report to the principal. That was our duty. After that, he will take action, or what will he do? That is his lookout. That our inquiry is concerned. We came to know that Mr. Sahu was accused of mental harassment, but we have mentioned everything in the report and submitted to the principal. We have called in 60 students in BEd department. We asked one after another, what is about your teacher? Say something. If you have any grievance regarding Samir Sahu, please tell us. We have asked the students. We have enquired the matter by calling the teachers and students, but they told us that there is nothing else. Teachers' behavior is good.
Meanwhile, CNN News 18 has accessed 3 letters, not 1 or 2, but 3 letters which show that the college was in the know about the allegations against the professor Samir Sahu. The first letter is dated June the 30th, which was the day that the student in question, along with her brother and some of the students, had confronted the college management about this. The complainant and other members of the political wing that she was a member of. That was on the 30th of June. That was the first letter. Another one the following day by the victim alleging mental harassment by this professor Samir Sahu. And then a third one on the 2nd of July by other students who wrote in support of the victim. So there were 3 letters that were brought to the notice, brought to the attention of the college principal and the college authorities, but they chose not to act against the errant professor, against the accused professor. Kamalika Sengupta has more from Balasore. Kamalika, why did the college choose not to act despite being warned not once, not twice, but 3 times by the student as well as others that there was a problem with this said professor?
That's the biggest question, Zaka. And till now, like we went to the college, we spoke to the couple of people. Till now, there is a sense of fear in the college. We spoke to a couple of faculty members, and they were all saying that, well, it is true that the principal took so many days to react, and that is a big question. But nobody was ready to come exactly on record and say such things. And another important thing is all these letters, like she was an active member of ABVP. ABVP has also given a letter. Along with that, the interesting twist in the fact is not only that she was pressurized by this assistant professor, but a group of students, they have also given a letter on 1st of July stating about this professor, that how good this professor is. A complaint has gone to the principal. The principal should neutrally look into the matter. So this is also another thing, that not only that that there was a pressurization from this assistant professor who is the HOD of their department, but a group of students were also trying to bully her, and that is where this thing is really very, very scary. And there is an uncanny feeling inside the college, and though there are protests, Balasore is not a place like where you find rallies and protest every day, or it's not like say Calcutta. But the fact is, this type of incident has really shocked this place. And more so, the role of this principal is really in question. And this is Balasore city, which is known for its education. And this college particularly is known for its education, for its B.Ed education. So people are really in grief. And let me tell you, today the BJD Bandh was there, and tomorrow the Congress Bandh is there. But all the opposition political parties are supporting this point, because this is nothing to do with politics, they are saying. This is to seek justice. And just because of this attitude of this principal, and we have been talking to investigative agencies also, they are telling us that clearly when it was told to the principal that if you feel that you can generate an FIR was not generated.
Okay, Kamalika Sengupta, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. She'll be reporting for us tomorrow as well when the All Odisha Bandh has been called by various opposition parties. We'll see how that plays out. But I want to go across to Lalita Kumaramangalam, who's former chairperson of the National Commission for Women. Thanks very much, ma'am, for joining us. So, as per the Vishaka guidelines that were formulated in the aftermath of the Nirbhaya attack, the rape and murder, I think the guidelines are very clear. The head of an institution, if a notice is brought to the attention of the head of an institution that there are serious allegations of sexual harassment against any employee or colleague or subordinate or what have you, and if the internal complaints committee has also looked into the matter and come to the same conclusion, then the head of the institution has to order for some kind of a penal action against the individual concerned.
External inquiry, yes.
What does it say about this particular case and this particular principle that he chose not to, and instead he chose to shield the accused?
Zaka, obviously there is something extremely fishy in this. Forget about the guidelines. Common humanity, any principal of a college, if a complaint comes in like this, must look into it with an absolutely sterling committee that has no vested interest. I saw that lady speak on your screen a little while ago, obviously a professor or somebody from the college who was part of the complaints committee or the inquiry committee, where she very frankly said that there's nothing like this happened at all. We asked other students. The point is not that. If one girl is being intimidated, we have no guarantee that this has not happened with others earlier. And as your journalist, your journalist said, there seems to be an atmosphere of fear in that college. This really is very, very fishy. First of all, I think they must remove that principal and shut the college down for at least a month or two. This has to be really looked into. This young girl has committed suicide. As you pointed out, Balasore is not one of those big towns where, abuse of girls is reported, etc. It's a quiet town in Odisha which is known for its peace and for its quality of education, as you pointed out. Now, if this has happened, it is probably just to safeguard the interests of the college, whether it is money, whether it runs deeper than that, the rot, whether it is one person or several persons involved. I think now I would like the NCW to do a suo motu cognizance, take suo motu cognizance, and actually ask the government of Orissa to send in set up an independent inquiry committee and check what went wrong.
I also
Young
do want to
girls,
ask you, since this is a college, this is an institution that comes under the UGC, are there sort of powers that the UGC or any other education regulator has over this college? Because clearly the principal seemed to have been, going out of his way to not just protect this professor, but as you said a moment ago, I think he was trying to also protect any kind of blowback on the college. But I don't think the law allows him to do that. Even if it's just one complainant, the law is very clear that if there is an internal complaints committee that has found merit or material in the victim's complaint, then the principal has to go ahead and order a further inquiry, ask for actually a police inquiry, which he failed to do.
Probably, Zaka, here the escalate they will use is that the internal complaints committee didn't find anything wrong, which is what the lady who was on your screen was hinting at, that they spoke to so many students and
that the others did not have any complaint.
Yeah, but there were 2 other letters which they should have taken cognizance of, which is why I'm saying NCW should now take suo motu and ask the state to set up an independent inquiry. Until then, just shut the college down. Because otherwise, if there is any sort of influence involved, whether it is political or money or whatever else, there are so many complaints like this happening. Increasingly, it makes me very depressed that there is no value for a young girl's life, a girl with so much promise, who is actually teaching self-defense. Too many girls don't go into that line of work at all. And it's just snuffed out and nobody seems to care. Everybody is covering up. Everybody who's covering up, whether directly or indirectly involved, has to be punished, has to be taken to task.
Be on top of this story. Thank you very much, ma'am, for speaking with us. And let's see what further action the authorities take vis-a-vis the college management, who are all very much in the know about these charges of harassment, these allegations of harassment against this department head, who's now been arrested. I want to move on to the other story that we're tracking, the storm over the voter roll revision in Bihar. It refuses to settle down after an outcry by the opposition over this exercise. Now, there's a new twist to this tale. The TDP, which is a BJP ally, in fact the second largest ally in the NDA, has sought to clarify from the Election Commission on the scope of this special intensive revision of electoral rolls, which is underway currently in Bihar. And the Election Commission has said that if it's successful in Bihar, they would like to replicate it in other states as well. The TDP has said in this letter that the Election Commission and its exercise should ideally be conducted not within 6 months of any major election, and that it should be made clear that it is not related to any citizenship verification, that this exercise is not to verify the citizenship documentation of individuals concerned, but rather this should be an electoral participation exercise. The party has also said that it should be explicitly communicated that this exercise is not related to citizenship verification. Now, the opposition is also claiming that even within the NDA allies like the TDP are questioning the Election Commission's intensive revision exercise. Let's listen into some of the reactions first.
We have given our suggestions here on this matter, and definitely given a very constructive suggestion because of the feedback that we have got from our party, which has been there for the last 40 or so years, and they know what's happening on the ground. And we also taken feedback from the government officials also what the problems that they're facing on the ground level. Based on this, we have given this information.
89% voter, they have completed their forms and they have become legitimate voter of the Bihar state. The suggestions made by our friendly party TDP, they are also welcome. Hopefully the EC will take note of it.
Now, on the ground, the exercise seems to be proceeding smoothly. Almost 90% of all voters have been established contact with. The forms have been returned. 2 rounds of door-to-door visits have already been carried out by the booth-level officers. There are 1 lakh BLOs who are all geared up to begin the 3rd round of visits. 1.5 lakh booth-level agents by various political parties are also providing assistance. Nearly 5,000 wards of 250-plus urban local bodies will have special camps. The Election Commission has been successful in getting nearly 90% saturation with 11 days remaining till the first deadline, the stage 1 deadline. 83.66 enumeration forms have already been received. 4.5% of registered voters have been deleted. Their names have been deleted for various reasons. 11.82% are yet to return the forms. But with 11 days still remaining, it looks like this process will be able to take everyone on board.
Amidst opposition's concern over the Bihar SIR, NDA ally TDP has now also raised concerns over this exercise by the Election Commission of India. Now, ECI has made it clear that after Bihar, the special intensive revision of the electoral rolls will be carried out throughout the country. TDP delegation met the Election Commission of India and expressed some concerns. First thing, what TDP said is that this should be an annual or a periodic exercise where third-party audit, perhaps by the Comptroller and Auditor General, should be made the norm. Utilization of artificial intelligence can also be done. Aadhaar can be linked with the election iCard to avoid any duplication of the EPIC or the election iCard. But most importantly, what the TDP said in its representation to the Election Commission of India is that it must be made explicitly clear to the voters that this is not a citizenship drive or a citizenship verification drive. This is just an exercise to correct the electoral rolls. While TDP says that it is with the ECI as on the issue of electoral roll revision or correction of electoral rolls, like in Bihar, ECI or the Bihar unit of Election Commission has found that there were a number of names included in the Bihar electoral rolls of people who were either deceased or who had moved on. They were no longer ordinary residents of Bihar, yet their name continued on the electoral list. So in such condition, TDP is also on board that such corrections of the voter list is required. But echoing the same concern as the opposition, TDP says that this must not be seen as a citizenship exercise.
Meanwhile, the Karnataka government has withdrawn its plan to acquire over 1,700 acres of agricultural land near the Kempegowda International Airport in Bengaluru. They wanted to build an aerospace industrial hub there. Chief Minister Siddaramaiah has announced that the government will only purchase land from farmers who are willing to sell their land voluntarily, offering higher compensation and developed plots in return. Andhra Pradesh Industries Minister Nara Lokesh has seized this opportunity, highlighting Andhra Pradesh's attractive aerospace policy. He's also invited investors to consider Andhra Pradesh for their projects. In response, Karnataka Minister Santosh Lad has clarified that the land acquisition plan is not fully scrapped, but it's being revised to respect farmers' wishes. Authorities may issue a new notification or acquire a different parcel of land based on these voluntary contributions. The Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, HAL, is also set to receive additional land, including near its helicopter manufacturing unit in Tumkuru. This is significant because just a few months ago, there was this big controversy, there were murmurs and offers for HAL to be moved out of Karnataka, but both the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister had come to Delhi, met with the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh and put that plan on hold.
ತಗೋತೀವಿ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಪಾರ್ಸಲ್ಸು ಇದ್ದಾವೆ ಒಟ್ಟಾರೆ ಇಷ್ಟೇ ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ ನಾರಾ ಲೋಕೇಶ್ ಅವರ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಏನು ಆಹ್ವಾನದ ಆ ಆಹ್ವಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರು ಕೂಡ ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯವನ್ನು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಹೋಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯ ಕೇವಲ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅಲ್ಲ ನೀರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಈಗ ನಾವು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ವಾಟರು ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ ಎಸ್ಟೇಟ್ಗೆ ಅದು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು ಸುತ್ತಮುತ್ತ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಉತ್ತರ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿರ್ಬೋದು ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಡೆಯೂ ಕೂಡ ನಾವು ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಯಲ್ ಅಲೋಕೇಶನ್ ವಾಟರ್ನ ಇವತ್ತು ಕಾವೇರಿಯಿಂದ ಸುಮಾರು 3,000 ಕೋಟಿ ರೂಪಾಯಿಲಿ ಸಹ ನೀರನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರು ಕೇಳಿದಲ್ಲಿ ಭೂಮಿ ಇರಲಾರ್ದೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ಕಳಿಸೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದನ್ನು ಭಾಳ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟವಾಗಿ ದೃಢವಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಇವತ್ತು ಸಹ ತಮ್ಮ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಕೂಡ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ, ನಾನು ಟ್ವೀಟ್ ಕೂಡ ಮಾಡಿ.
Legendary filmmaker Satyajit Ray's ancestral home in Bangladesh is all set to be demolished. The century-old house, which is located on the Harikishore Ray Chaudhary Road, has been abandoned for about 10 years now and is to be brought down to make way for the new semi-concrete structure. But given that this is the second such prominent Bengali icon's house that's being demolished, concerns are rising over willful erasure of a shared Bengali history. Here's the full story.
In the heart of Mymensingh, Bangladesh, a quiet structure stands on the edge of erasure. Not just bricks and mortar, but memory itself. This is no ordinary house. This is the ancestral home of Upendra Kishore Ray Chaudhary, grandfather of legendary filmmaker Satyajit Ray. This modest home gave birth to giants. Upendra Kishore Ray Chaudhary, writer and painter and illustrator. His son, Sukumar Ray, poet, satirist and Satyajit Ray, arguably the greatest Indian filmmaker of all times. A family that shaped the very soul of Bengali culture, and now the house that nurtured their legacy is being torn down. Demolition began quietly, a government order justified on the grounds of public safety. Officials say the house is unsafe for children as it once housed the now defunct Shishu Academy. But outrage travels fast. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee calls the move distressing and urges the Indian government to act. Her words carry the weight of a cultural crisis. This is not just a building, it's a cornerstone of the Bengali Renaissance. In classrooms across West Bengal, stories like Gupi Gain Bagha Bain still stir imaginations. In Dhaka, Upendra Kishore Ray's books remain beloved, even without being prescribed. The Ray legacy lives on, not just in films, but in language, in laughter, in the very idea of what it means to be Bengali. Now, India's Ministry of External Affairs has officially offered to restore the home, suggesting it be preserved as a literary museum and symbol of shared Indo-Bangla culture. But so far, no agreement has been reached. Local voices in Maimansingh call the demolition a betrayal of heritage. It's been neglected for years, says poet Shamim Ashraf. But tearing it down destroys more than a house. It buries the legacy of the Ray family. The house may not have raised Satyajit Ray, but it raised the very spirit that would go on to create the Oppu trilogy, Charulata, Devi. It was the womb of a movement, a place where ink met imagination, where laughter met learning, where art met purpose. Now, that place lies in ruins, caught between bureaucratic indifference and bulldozers, a cultural artery severed. Across the world, homes of cultural icons are preserved. Picasso, Shakespeare, Hemingway. Why not Ray? Why not here? Because this isn't just a house in Bangladesh, it is a shared heartbeat, a story that belongs to both sides of the border, and stories must be protected.
Nearly 6 months after his inauguration, when President Trump pledged that he would end the war in Ukraine within 24 hours, now he's been forced to adopt a very different approach towards Russia. One that, at least on paper, seems to be remarkably close to that of his predecessor, Joe Biden. And that is to arm the Ukrainians to fight off the Russian invasion. On Monday this week, Trump announced the US decision to send more than a dozen Patriot missile batteries to Ukraine in the presence of the visiting NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. For President Trump, the decision to sell arms to Ukraine, although he did say that Europe will foot the bill, marks a complete reversal in his Ukraine and Russia policy. Not just that, he even threatened Russia with deep sanctions on energy exports in the next 50 days if it does not negotiate a ceasefire. But the question is, will Putin listen? Will Putin play ball with Trump?
And I'm disappointed in President Putin because I thought we would have had a deal 2 months ago, but it doesn't seem to get there. So based on that, we're going to be doing secondary tariffs if we don't have a deal in 50 days. It's very simple. And they'll be at 100%. And that's the way it is.
Even in his statement of support for Ukraine as he sat in the Oval Office along with Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General, President Trump made it clear that he planned to keep his distance from direct involvement in this war. Instead, he blamed the Democrats for this war. He called it Obama and Biden's war.
I go home, I tell the First Lady, I spoke to Vladimir today. We had a wonderful conversation. She said, oh, really? Another city was just hit. So it's like, look, he's, I don't want to say he's an assassin, but he's a tough guy. It's been proven over the years. He's fooled a lot of people. He fooled Bush. He fooled a lot of people. He fooled Clinton, Bush, Obama, Biden. He didn't fool me.
But Trump's belligerence hides a plain feeling of betrayal that he feels at the hands of Putin. Even if he did not use the words, the tone was a dead giveaway. That Trump felt deceived by President Vladimir Putin of Russia. Trump was hoping there would be a quick resolution. He was hoping on the calculation that Putin wanted a quick end to this war, and he was willing to do so if he got an ending on his own terms. But Putin had other ideas, and this is where Trump grossly miscalculated. The Russian summer offensive has been largely going in Putin's favorable way. Russia now is firmly in control of most of eastern and southern Ukraine, and now he's pressing the advantage on the battlefield. Putin wants more. He wants more Ukrainian territory. During last year's presidential campaign, then candidate Trump, who went on to become president for a second term, he had vowed a quick resolution to the Ukraine war. And his argument on the campaign trail was that Trump alone had the stature to deal with the Russian leader. Once he took office, he blamed the Ukrainians for Russia's invasion of their own country. He then had an infamous clash with President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine. It was an extraordinary showdown that happened in the Oval Office back in February.
You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers.
But Trump even gave Russia a free pass on tariffs. He praised Putin for his strength, and he provided assurance that Ukraine would never join NATO. Until this week, when for the very first time, Trump threatened 100% tariffs on Russia if it doesn't agree to a quick ceasefire. But the threat of weapons and 3 years of fighting, this battle of attrition against American weapons, against a combined strength of NATO, none of that has deterred Putin so far. So it's highly unlikely that the threat of Trump tariffs is going to make him stop the war. But that's not stopping Trump either. Trump talked approvingly of a bipartisan Senate bill that would allow the US president to impose up to 500% tariffs on any country that purchases Russian oil or gas. But Trump stopped short of endorsing that bill. The bill is clearly aimed at both China and India, and there is good reason to wonder whether Trump, who's already engaged in bitter tariff negotiations with both of these countries, will actually carry through with this threat.
It's a horrible war, and it should be stopped. And so if it's not done, if we don't have an agreement in 50 days, that's what we're doing, secondary tariffs. And they're biting. And I hope we don't get to the point where we do.
Last week, Trump complained for the very first time that Putin had strung him along. And then Trump lifted a brief pause on America delivering weapons to Ukraine. But it's only over the last few days that he formally endorsed the NATO and European plan, which was presented to him by Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General. The plan essentially is to arm the Ukrainians by shipping American-made weapons to Ukraine in its time of need, and then subsequently, America would help by backfilling the Europeans by selling them new arms.
So I've been in contact with many countries. I can tell you that at this moment, Germany massively, but also Finland and Denmark and Sweden and Norway, the United Kingdom, the Netherlands, Canada, they all want to be part of this, and this is only the first wave. There will be more. So what we will do is work through the NATO systems to make sure that we know what the Ukrainians need, so that we can make packages. Of course, in a way, we discussed it this morning with Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon, in a way that, of course, the US will put on its stockpiles necessary to defend this country. That's absolutely clear. But it will mean that Ukraine can get its hands on really massive numbers of military equipment, both for air defense, but also missiles, ammunition, etc., etc.
The Russians also seem to doubt whether President Trump would stick to his position for too long. The Moscow Stock Exchange dumped 2.5% after Trump's announcement. It was perhaps reflective also of the relief that sanctions were not going to be immediately imposed. The reading in Moscow seems to be that if this is all that Trump has to say about Ukraine, then for now at least, the threat of a full-blown war between America and Russia has receded. Trump, though, could change his mind anytime between now and early September when that 50-day deadline runs out. Trump has repeatedly changed his tariff deadlines for various countries, there is no reason why he won't do the same with Russia. Trump has never really had much use for the NATO alliance or the order, the global order that it has created for the last 80 years. Nor has he ever in the past decade condemned Putin with the same level of ferocity that Biden did. Trump, in fact, has never called the 2022 Russian invasion illegal. He, in fact, praised Putin for a smart, if violent, land grab. He has also approached the sporadic negotiations over a ceasefire and a possible peace deal as a real estate transaction, the one in which he has envisioned that Putin will basically hold on to whatever land he controls now in the south and the east of Ukraine. But Putin does not view this as a real estate transaction. He wants more. He doesn't view this war as a war over territory. For Putin, this is about Russia re-establishing its primacy in the existing global order. This is about extending the Russian motherland, as it were, into some kind of a Pax Russiana, which used to exist in the 16th and 17th centuries. And Putin is not going to stop just yet. But for now, President Trump seems to be acting out of a sense of personal vindictiveness and perhaps the realization that his relationship with Putin is not what he imagined it to be. Trump has spoken with Putin 5 times since taking office, although the results have been diminishing. Trump sent his special envoy Steve Witkoff to visit the Kremlin, but he returned empty-handed. Trump has said that there would be no progress on Ukraine until there is a direct meeting between him and Putin. No such meeting has been scheduled in the almost 6 months of the second Trump term. And given the events of the last few days, it looks even more unlikely now.
Co-presented by This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
All right, starting this bulletin with the breaking news, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has warned Brazil, China and India, saying they could face heavy sanctions if they keep doing business with Russia. Rutte's remarks offered clarity about the potential outcome after President Donald Trump announced that he was giving Putin 50 days to enter into a peace talks with Ukraine or face what he called secondary tariffs of 100% as well as secondary sanctions. Mark Rutte urges leaders to call Putin and push for serious peace talks.
First of all, that the US will now supply massively Ukraine with weapons out of the US, not just air defense, also missiles, also ammunition paid for by the Europeans. And secondly, that President Trump said, basically, if Russia is not serious about peace talks, within 50 days, he will slam secondary sanctions on countries like India, China and Brazil. So my encouragement to these 3 countries particularly is, if you live now in Beijing or in Delhi, or you are the president of Brazil, you might want to take a look into this, because this might hit you very hard. So please make the phone call to Vladimir Putin.
Well, my colleague Akanksha is with us on the phone line. Akanksha, there is a stern warning coming from NATO General Secretary, where he says that India, Japan and China should stop buying or trading with Russia. Now, can we see this being reflected into a trade deal between India and US?
Arun, important to highlight that this is particularly a warning being given to BRICS members, which is Brazil, Russia, India and China. And as we all know, it comes a day after Donald Trump threatened Russia to make a deal on Ukraine in the next 50 days. Otherwise, Russia would be slapped with 100% tariffs, to which the NATO chief, Mark Rutte, has, of course, gone on to also highlight that India and China and Brazil could also be roped in with secondary sanctions or secondary tariffs of 100%. and if there is any trade with Russia in terms of Russian exports. We know that India happens to be one of the largest buyers of Russian energy and oil. And so India could very well stand a threat of being slapped with these additional sanctions. So you can clearly see this divide between, say, the US plus NATO versus Putin and the other BRICS members, particularly Brazil, China and India. As we all know, there was a unified stance in condemning the US president, not just for his airstrikes on Iran, but also for primarily raising the tariffs and shaking up the entire global economy. And so what Mark Rutte is saying is only echoing Donald Trump's stance. As we all know, there's a growing consensus within Republican senators in the United States who are praising Donald Trump for announcing the steps of a 50-day peace plan for Russia. And many have also voiced concerns that this could change the negotiating tactics for the Russian President Vladimir Putin. They're saying that the next 50 days is perhaps a little too much for the Russian president and that he could change things on the ground level. It could also give him time to prepare. So 50.
Namaste, Jai Hind, you're on the Hard Facts. I'm Anand Narasimhan and we start with some amazing pictures that have just come in just after about, just a little over about 24 hours of coming back to terra firma. Gagan Yatri Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla is reunited with his wife and son. So soon after the big splash near California, those are the pictures from yesterday, and these are pictures just from a short while ago where he's seen embracing his wife and his child and dressed in the Air Force, the NASA overalls. He is looking, and you've got the tricolor on his left patch, shoulder, there on the arm. 18 days successful mission to the ISS, and he is back here. And what a jubilant welcome that he's got. And of course, when you spend so much time in space, you come back with a perspective where you value the time that you have here with friends, family, and of course, your loved ones. Shri is joining us with more. Shri, we will try and speak. Now, there were reports that all the astronauts have got to be in quarantine for a bit, but it looks like they've completed their mandatory or required checkups and they are being allowed to interact with people. They seem to be hale and hearty, and he looks fresher than he looked when he was just being pulled out of that capsule yesterday. We are given to understand that even Sław Suzański, he's also met with his loved ones, his family. Shri joins us with more details. Yes, Shri.
Yeah, hello Anand. So what we are learning is that all the 4 crew members had some chance to meet their family members. We got some visuals shared by the European Space Agency, which showed Sławomir Ozanki, who is from Poland, that he traveled to Germany and met with his wife. And so we got some stunning visuals of Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla as well, who got a chance to meet with his wife and the kid. I think the visuals are from Houston, where all the 4 crew members traveled immediately after they splashed down off the coast of California. Now, Houston is where the Space Center is located, where a basic medical evaluation was supposed to take place. Since all the 4 crew members spent about 18 days at the International Space Station, so the medical examination is very important, which was undertaken. And hopefully we'll get some more update from NASA as well as the Indian Space Research Organization about the next few days, about the schedule of the next few days.
So no quarantine for them, but do we know whether they'll be allowed to leave Houston and they'll be relieved of their current duties and they'll be allowed to come back to Bharat? What's the update on that front? Is there a coordination with ISRO who are watching and managing Shubhanshu